Well, hey there, it's Jen.
And Elke, welcome back to the Jen and Elke show where we talk everything about Zazzle. Zazzle is a print-on-demand company that shoppers shop on to find unique indie designs. And us as sellers on the platform, because anyone can become a seller on the platform, that is where Jen and I have been making our money since 2008 as our online e-commerce business. And now we teach people how to do the same and have helped people sell over $165 million on the platform. That is exciting. It is 2025. You are here and ready to go because you have either been on the Zazzle platform and you're excited to figure out what to do to make this kind of money, or you are new and you're going like, what the heck is Zazzle? I thought I could only shop there. So either way, come and join us for this session here. In this video, it's a very important video about copyright. We do not
Mhm.
want people to lose their businesses or have to pay legal fees because they overstepped copyright. And specifically, we want to talk about Creative Fabrica and some of the other things that if you've been with Zazzle for a while, you've tried and used, and then they kind of change the requirements, and all of a sudden you're in trouble, right? So it's a very untalked, like not talked about too often, and we want to just bring it right out in the open. We are not copyright lawyers, so just make sure that you always, check for yourself. But we can give you some guidance based on our experience and also what the general teachings are that we have in our Profit by Design Academy, so that you can be the buyer beware and make sure that your business is safe, because copyright is super, super important. And we do not want you to get caught in that legal mess, because in the end you lose, not anyone else. So
Mhm.
stick around. We're gonna do our best to give you some really great tips to help you through this. And for those that are brand new, this is not an issue for starting the Zazzle business that you want to start. It's just as with everything else, when you start a business, you have to understand what you're getting into and to obey the rules, right? And so this is just what this is today. So we don't want to freak anyone out, but we do feel that a lot of people start Zazzle because they think, I'll just throw stuff up and I'll just, ask ChatGPT or Mid-Journey to make something up for me that's similar to something that's already selling, or I'll just buy these graphics and throw them up, and no one really looks to see what it is that the legal implications are, and do you have the right licenses to do that? Because ultimately, if you start selling something, you have to have the right to sell that, right? Even if it's
Mhm.
not completely your own. And there's even instances where it could be your own art or it could be your own photograph, but it's not yours legally because the item is legally copyrighted, such as the lone cypress that's on Route 1 in California, right? You can't take a picture of that, put it up on some sort of site and start to sell it. It's copyrighted. So things that you may not have understood are part of the deal for selling online items and designs. That's what we want to get into, but more so in terms of just buying the graphics and understanding what is involved in buying graphics that are not yours, that you want to use as yours and say they're mine, and then make money from them. Okay, that was a very long introduction, but it sets the stage. And so let's get into this.
Okay. So point number one is that not all licenses are Zazzle friendly. Being said, Zazzle friendly meaning print on demand, okay? Because there could be commercial use licenses that are available out there, and there are many platforms where you have to really read the fine details, because commercial use could be something like where you're creating only a limited amount of prints or a limited amount of things. It could be that you're only allowed to sell it on physical products that you create rather than, generated by print on demand. And so understanding that there is a necessary full POD license if possible, or a POD extended if available, because there are also some licenses that say it's print on demand friendly, but you're only allowed to print up to 1,000 copies, for example. And unfortunately on Zazzle, there's really no way to limit the amount of copies or things that are printed or being sold, because you can sell as many things as you want, or can if a customer buys it. And so that being said, that if you bought one of those licenses where it says 1,000 copies limited, then you would literally have to delete that product from the platform and you wouldn't be able to sell it anymore. And obviously you don't want to do that because, for example, Elke and I have been on the platform since 2008, and there are some products that I still sell to this day. Same with Elke, that her and I made in 2010 and 2011, and we've sold over hundreds of thousands of copies of certain products. And obviously those licenses, if we had them limited like that, we wouldn't be able to make that amount of money or sell that amount of products. And so make sure that you really look at the licenses to make sure they have either a print on demand component to them or a full POD or extended POD, and also the stipulations for it being a print on demand license as well.
And we want to just like for us, when we started this, there was no information whatsoever, and we just checked online, and we also asked ChatGPT to give us some advice, and it actually gave us the wrong advice. We know for a fact that that's not correct, so be careful. You can't just ask ChatGPT and then go like, it said it was fine. You have to do your due diligence with every single seller of a digital asset and every single platform that you have that you're going to go to say, well, I'm going to be a member of like Creative Fabrica, for example, and then I'll pay their fees. And because they said it's user friendly for POD license, full on license, that doesn't even mean that that's the case. Because if you even just look on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of people that aired certain cases where the clients did do that. They paid the license from Creative Fabrica, and it turns out Creative Fabrica didn't actually vet the people too much that they had as sellers on there. And so then the original owners of the assets that these sellers were unlawfully selling on Creative Fabrica, guess who got hit? It was the ultimate people who bought the products and then used them to sell on POD. That got hurt, not Creative Fabrica. And Creative Fabrica didn't do anything to restitute the sellers who believed Creative Fabrica, for example. So in every single case, what Jen and I do, especially now, is ask the original seller to give us written proof with our name on it saying, I hereby agree to have, Jen Clarke or Elke Clarke use these specifically on Zazzle for an unlimited print run in perpetuity, right? And if you don't have that email along with when you paid, like don't even pay until they give you that, then don't use it. Like that is how much you have to be careful with your assets. Okay, I think that, do you want to add anything to that, or is that?
No, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
So point number 2 is copyright infringement risks. So same sort of thing that we were just talking about, but a little bit slightly different, where some of these websites, for example, Creative Fabrica, there had been previous, infringements because certain people have uploaded products or uploaded designs that actually were not under copyright. And it seemed to be that they were. And so sellers on Zazzle or designers who are on Creative Fabrica trusted that, the user profile, because it's not just Creative Fabrica who is uploading these designs, it's individual users like myself and you. And you are getting these designs from people who have uploaded them underneath the impression that they are doing their own due diligence or creating these products or designs, and they've done their research and it's copyright, or that they've allowed it to be. So some people do copy, and some people also upload certain things that aren't actually truly copyright available. The next thing here, point number 2, that kind of goes along with that, is that, for example, if you see for like a Disney inspired font or graphic, I have seen that around on the internet floating around, like this Disney inspired fonts, Disney inspired graphics that maybe doesn't actually have Mickey Mouse in it, for example, but uses the Mickey Mouse ears or has some sort of version of the Magic Castle in there. That's just talking about Disney. But like Elke mentioned, what was the place in, what's it called? What you just said, that it's a copyright of.
Oh, it's like the Lone Cypress.
I just didn't remember. The Lone Cypress,
Yeah.
yes.
And like
So
even there's if something looks like something else, like the Superman logo or the Fender guitar
Or a
silhouette.
Jeep
What's that?
or a Jeep silhouette.
Yep. Yeah. So that's all really in that area. In addition to just being able to believe like Creative Fabrica or Creative Market, which are two of the sites that used to say you could use things on Zazzle, but now there seems to be more issues. So you can't just depend on it. But like this is getting even deeper into making sure that you're not violating anything based on association of brand, right? Because that's what you're doing by doing that. It's kind of a finer point to copyright, but the copyright lawyers for all those big brands are going to be right on you, and they may not do a sweep daily, but they do. They used to have people that are designated specifically for watching out for that, but now I'm sure they all have bots that are just trolling the internet, and if they find something, then they right away automatically generate a takedown notice. So you just don't want to even get there, right? You want this to be your very own, and you can't say, "Oh, I made it up differently than this." But if it still looks like the other thing, then it's not you copied it, right? Yeah.
Point number 3 is that Zazzle holds you responsible, right? Which means that Zazzle puts the responsibility on you to ensure that your designs are original or properly licensed. Clearly, like Elke mentioned, Zazzle's workers, Zazzle's team will go through and look at certain designs and review them, but some of the things don't get caught right away. Like there isn't somebody doing an approval process as soon as you post your product for sale. So once you click that check mark box at the bottom of publish product or post this product for sale, and you say, I have the rights to use this product and also the design associated with it, then you are being held responsible for doing your due diligence and making sure that your product is able to be posted for sale without any copyright infringement. Zazzle does have a team that goes through and reviews products later afterwards, but you might be very surprised if all of a sudden a month down the road you have your store taken down or your products are removed because you thought that you posted your product for sale and that it was selling and everything was all good. But unfortunately, if you didn't do your research, then Zazzle could come up later on in the future and remove your product or even shut down your store, right? And so it's your responsibility for making sure that everything is correct when you post that product for sale.
And the idea here is that, and I've had so many of people come to us because we're Zazzle experts, and they go like, "That's not fair. Zazzle just took down my store or took my product down. It's been up even for years. I don't know why they didn't say anything earlier." And unfortunately, that, as Jen said, it's up to you, and already, or you don't, right? And it's just an obvious, unfortunate mistakes. I had literally a wedding church program taken down because I made up names that I thought were nobody's name, but it turned out it was some fancy race car driver. And so it got taken down, and it took me forever to find out that that was the case. But the point being here is that the review may be sporadic. And so even if you've sold this item before and then the team on Zazzle didn't even catch it the first couple of times it sold. Once it does get caught by Zazzle, it's final, right? There's very little you can do. And so having, as Jen said, I don't know if you caught that in terms of, it was very valuable advice. I'll repeat it here, is you don't want something that's currently selling to be taken down just because of even something like what happened with me with this sleight of hand where I'm making up all these names, and it was very obtuse, but I didn't go on the internet and look for names. I literally made it up, and somehow it was the name of somebody. And so it had been selling really well because it was a general program that the names were just in there as a placeholder, right? But you're technically selling all that. And so therefore you've got to be careful with everything. And so we want to get into deeper here with a lot of our clients the first time before they come to us, and then they get us to review some of their designs. One of the biggest mistakes they make is they put in store names, or like for like bridal showers, or bride is registered at Target and this and that. Ooh, big flags. big red flags. And so also things like very famous locations. It's not just the Lone Cypress. It's like Trinity United Church in New York. That is actually registered trademark, I believe. But so you just don't want to go there, because anything that's very well known, you're trying to use this as a way to get people to look at your stuff, but really it's trademarked, and therefore you're going to get into trouble with your products that you posted. Okay. So let's see what else.
And point number 4 is what to use instead. So obviously you can do your research to find graphics online if you're not a graphic designer. Do your due diligence, read the licenses. There are websites available, even some stuff on Creative Fabrica. I know that we're talking about it here in this video, but there are some graphics that you can use there, especially if you have the right licenses, if you've talked to the right profile users or the person who's designing the designs on Creative Fabrica, etc. But if you want to stay away from all of that because you're nervous, you can create your own graphics in Canva. Being said, you have to have the Canva Pro account. But right now we know that all the images and graphics on Canva that are there for you to use as things that go into your projects or your designs can be used on Zazzle for commercial use with print on demand if you have the Pro account. Or you can use Illustrator or Photoshop if you're a little bit more educated in those programs or platforms. Or you can even hire a designer on Fiverr or any other place where you can hire people to just do some graphic design work on the internet to create original artwork for you if you'd like, right? Plus, you can also use artwork that is not in copyright anymore. For example, like certain things that have been, over 100 and some odd years in existence. You can
I
find.
can't remember exactly. And you know what? That is different based on each country. So you have to be very careful. You can't just go like, oh, I read somewhere that this is the case, so it must be fine. You have to go specifically where it was generated, what country it was generated, and how those laws apply for things to come off copyright. So be careful with that. But yes, there's a lot of things that just recently came off copyright, so you can use those graphics, and you can do your research for that. The other thing I was going to say is that there are some programs out there that are now AI generated, and I know everyone wants us to weigh in on AI generated art. We don't really want you to do that because, again, it's not settled. It's in the courts, and I don't really know if it'll ever be settled. So if your whole business is based on like AI generated art from Kittle or Midjourney or something like that, I would be very weary, and you run the risk of it being taken down. But Zazzle does allow AI generated art. You just have to put in your tags a certain tag to make sure that they know that it was not something original, because that's also one of the reasons that Zazzle is they're looking for unique, individualized, indie designs. Yes, even if you bring the graphics in and somebody like multiple different sellers on Zazzle would have similar graphics, but they're bringing their own spin to it, and they're adding the design differently to a product or a use. And so it's still an indie design, so to speak, with the proper copyrighted material. But that's why people come to the Zazzle platform compared to Etsy or Shopify. It's not just a run-of-the-mill quick, throw this up and like, let's see how many people we can get to sell this or buy this. It's they're really looking for that indie thing because it's different and unique and personalized. And so if you keep that in mind as you, the seller, are using the platform properly, then you will command those customers, and you can command and ask for those prices, right? Because we're not a cheap site, right? When you're going to Zazzle, you are paying a certain amount, and people always forget that people will pay for the unique and individualized items. And so even though you might be an artist or photographer and you go like, well, it's not straight art and straight photography that sells on Zazzle, it is to some degree if you draw the person there. So you can use your original art and your original photography, but also understand that there is a big, broad market on Zazzle. And if you just tap into art and photography or surface pattern design or whatever, you're just kept capturing a tiny little aspect. And so whatever we've been talking about here is capturing that bigger market with regards to fonts, with regards to graphics that other people have made up, and anything that might get you in trouble, which is actually already copyrighted, but you're making your own version of it. And so I hope that this has been very helpful. We'd love to see a lot of comments down below. As I said, we are not copyright lawyers. You do need to check with your own lawyer to make sure that your company is safe, because despite the fact that it's just a Zazzle store that you opened, this is your company and you're responsible legally as well as financially for your well-being in your company. And so do the due diligence. Okay, and we've got a checklist for you. Go for it, Jen.
Yeah, so in the link of the description of this, in the description of this video, there's a link for you to download our bonus license checklist. Obviously, we want you to do your own research as well on the platforms individually, whichever platforms you're using, like Creative Fabrica, all of those ones, etc. We've been actually talking a lot about graphics in this video, but there are copyright issues for photo templates as well, which we won't be talking about in this checklist, but just know that there are licenses for everything, especially if you're using template holders on Zazzle and then also selling the graphics as well. But in this checklist, you'll be given some tips about the licenses and how you can do some due diligence and what's better, what to avoid and what not to do, and also the research that you need to do to make sure that you can use those licenses or those platforms for the graphics that you're downloading online. So make sure that you check that out. It is free. It's in the description of this video, and it will help you put you in the right direction to get the research done and do your due diligence, which we've been talking about a lot in this video. Okay.
All right. And if you love this content and you want us to do more, please subscribe to our channel. We'd love to continue this with you on your Zazzle journey to success.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.